6:45 today.
All right.
And we're going to be discussing a motion. So from the docket of January 7th, 2020, I entertain a motion to add the position of administrative assistant to the mayor, and placing the position at grade 7 on reclassification plan and personnel rules and regulations. A review by personnel of the executive secretary to the mayor has found that the obligations and functions have changed significantly over the past few years. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Before we move into any discussion, I would like to share this letter from the personnel director, Beagle? I think that's how it's pronounced. Dear Mayor Hero, upon your request, I've reviewed the duties and the responsibilities of Executive Secretary to the Mayor position that's part of your office staff. Here are my findings. For the past several years, the operations of the Office of the Mayor and its related obligations and functions have changed significantly. With that, the duties and responsibilities of the Executive Secretary to the Mayor have also changed and increased. This position has taken on multiple new tasks that include participating in numerous special projects, cell phone administration, assist with the city telephone network, facilities management, as well as provide assistance to various boards and commissions. Also, this position now acts as a representative of the Mayor's Office on the Hazardous Mitigation Committee. As this position has changed in responsibilities and expectations, it would be appropriate to change the grade on the classification plan and consider a job title that is more appropriate. With that, I recommend the position of Administrative Assistant to the Mayor be created, along with placing this position at grade 7 on the exempt classification plan. Attached is the job description. I placed the job description in your boxes for everybody on the council. Is there any discussion or questions?
I still have the same question I had before.
Could you repeat it?
Is that the person that's in that position now is the executive secretary.
Correct.
Her job role has increased, and they believe significantly enough as to change the title of executive secretary to administrative assistant to the mayor. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So what happens now with the executive secretary position?
I asked that question of Owen,
And I'm asking you.
and he told me that position will lay vacant. They're not adding another person into that office.
Well, they could send it down and ask us to fill an what I'm saying is that's gonna stay on there. And the mayor could now come down and ask us for an executive secretary, saying that the administrative assistant is no longer capable of doing the things of an executive secretary. This is my concern. So if we're going to move this executive secretary into a new name change, administrative assistant to the mayor, and I believe the position at grade 7 is only an additional $2,000. Plus, you know, I think we asked that you bring.
I have that information.
Okay.
Would you like me to tell you now?
I would like to be able to look at that and see what the numbers and the differences are, knowing that the executive secretary position is going to still be available to fill. Or are all those executive secretary duties going to remain and be the job of the administrative assistant to the mayor?
That is the understanding that I have.
That needs to be exactly what is happening, or else it's in.
And there's not another staff person being added.
Yet, or requested
There
at
wasn't
this
even a
moment in
yet
time.
there. Not from Owen, there was no yet.
Well, those are my concerns, and I'm
Okay.
just voting loudly,
So
voicing loudly.
the increase per week We're getting down to the actual numbers. Will be an increase by $56.40 a week.
The increase doesn't bother me. I'm
Okay.
concerned about the name change and why we need now 2 empty positions in the mayor's office, and we've just added this new one. That's my concern.
Yes?
So I don't see the vacancy a problem per se, because the mayor would have to come before this council. It's not any different to me than the lab positions that were in the water department for many years that were not funded, but those, over the years, they have filled them, to your point, but they've come before the council to get that approval. So I think there's another one off the top of my head, constituent services manager. You all remember all of that, that were here at that time. That position's still in the mayor's budget, but not funded, right? So I think that without coming back to the council, there is no opportunity to fill that position, because he needs to come before the council to ask for that money and find the money to pay additional support to support the office of the mayor.
Thank you. Does that help?
I'll take it. I'm not thrilled with it. I'm not sure that the name change needed to change
Well,
specifically, but.
President Cooper?
so the title did need to change in order to be in alignment with the classification plan to allow for the increased duties and the increase in the.
Just to add the new additional duties.
And to get to an appropriate step with the experience level that this individual brings to that position. That's helpful.
It will be moving from grade 6,
Six to
step
7.
10, to 7, step 8.
Step 8,
Yes.
so that position has 2 steps to go with that person that's in office.
I would presume so.
No, Ty,
Okay.
does that position have 2 steps to increase?
2 additional.
It's a 10.
Yeah,
So
it's
we
a
go to
10,
10.
so it goes.
go
That
to
would be
10.
normal. So I wouldn't have asked that question of Dawn. So I would guess so.
Well, that girl deserves it because.
She does.
There's
The person-
definitely,
yeah.
there's definitely a lot of extra responsibilities and duties.
Yeah, I don't have a concern with that. It's not that. My concern was why the change, and are the duties of the secretary, the mayor's secretary, going to stay in that administrative position and not be eliminated? That's the biggest thing. And if this is what we're considering, if the executive secretary did all those things and we added more things, I have no problem with her getting the pay raise that she deserves. I'm just concerned about what would a secretary now be doing. Because those duties just went up to administrative assistant. So if we're going to keep that executive secretary there, and if it came down, as Council Cooper says, we'd have to approve it anyway, but my concerns and why I'm voicing them now is to make it clear, if it ever came down, well, what would that person be doing? Because we just moved all of those up to the administrative position. So.
Yes.
So perhaps between now and next week, you might get an opportunity to take a look at a few of the cities the size of Attleboro and inquire as to the staffing levels for the corner office. My recollection is that 16 or 18 years ago, the budget carried an assistant mayor position that,
Wasn't that long ago, Richard.
well, he went through 3 or 4 of them. Yeah, it was 16,
Kevin was only the mayor for
14 years.
mayor for 14 years.
That's right.
So it was at.
Right. So here's my point. I believe that our mayor runs a very efficient office because of his use of technology. I mean, he's on his laptop and cell phone and all the time, tapping something. And I knew the people that were in the office before the people that are there now in the office, and we're lucky that we've got a person there who can be elevated to basically a chief of staff position. But I think it would be good for the Chair of Personnel and Human Services to be able to present to the council that other cities our size are structured typically in this manner or in a particular manner. And I think it'd be easier for councils to understand whether this is good or bad. I happen to think it's good, but I also have to tell you, Ty, I just got a $50 raise in Taunton, and it reduced my take-home pay $7.
It's a tough gig.
It's a tough gig. So, I think just a little bit more background information might be helpful. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Ty, just to add to Sarah's question about that position being filled, the climate of the council at this point probably would not fill it. Probably, but you never know.
You never know.
Till the fat lady sings, right? But if the climate changed and it come down, that could be filled.
Yeah,
Sarah,
and
you're right.
And if I may, Councilor Waterman to
Please.
Councilor Blaze, I wouldn't have a problem with that, unless it wasn't, unless the secretary itself now, that, I wouldn't want to see those duties that got moved up come back to move down. What would the new duties of that office be now, if we were going to fill that position? And that's not what we're talking about, we're actually talking about something else, but that would be my concern if it came down. Thank you.
Are we ready for a vote?
No.
I have a question.
Question.
Thank you.
Please.
So, the way that I see this, it's been a review. So, the personnel director, along with the mayor, has gone and looked and seen what this executive secretary has been doing. And she's been given added responsibilities, so they're giving her an upgrade.
Yes.
So yes, we're gonna keep the title executive secretary, but maybe at some point, that's gonna change as well. So they'll review that position at some point. But when they do review it, if they do decide to bring that title back on into the mayor's office, then they'll have to reorganize, just like we do everywhere else in every department. So by giving her this new title and this new responsibility, doesn't mean that we're going to go ahead and fill her seat right now. And it's gonna have to come before us, and we would have to approve it, we'd have to approve the funding, and we'd have to have the same descriptions, just like you just asked for. So I don't have any problem personally moving this forward. I'm very comfortable with it. I think they've explained everything here in all this backup that we all received.
Ty, what's the other position in that office? What step is the other position?
I did not
at?
ask that question.
Legal
Because
secretary.
that could be an automatic bump up also.
It's a legal secretary, she is.
Legal
She's a
secretary.
legal, yes, she's a
What
legal
step is that
secretary.
on?
You have the classification plan, Ty provided it with us, so if you wanna take a look at that, because we all have one. She's legal secretary, so she's probably,
No, not this.
did you get it?
Yeah, but this is
She's
making a new
grade
one.
6.
Yep, grade 6.
Grade 6. Thank you.
Any other questions? I should presume we're ready for a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? I hear none. Vote passes 3-0. I will call for an adjournment.
Second.
Thank you very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We are adjourned at 7:01. We'll meet again at the next appropriate time. Thank you.
and a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time I'd entertain a motion to approve the records of December 10th, 2019.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve the records of December 17th, 2019.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. The first order of business this evening will be recognize the Personnel and Human Services Committee Chair, Councilor Waterman. Councilor Waterman.
Yes. Well, reporting from the Personnel and Human Services Committee on the docket of January 7th, 2020. I move to oppose the mayor's action of removal of Joseph Caponegro as the chair of the Traffic Study Commission, as stated in Section 3-4, removal of officials of the city charter.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any questions or comments? Councilor Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to offer up a friendly amendment, and I'd like to remove from this as chair of the Traffic Study Commission and add as a member of the Traffic Study Commission.
Second.
And Councilor Holmes, was that seconded? Okay. Now, on the, we have a second. The motion is in order. Any questions or comments about the amendment? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote, and we'll begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
No.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
9 yeas, 1 nay.
Thank you. Motion passes. So the motion as amended, hold on one second. 10, no, 9, 1. Okay, now the motion as amended is in order. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, this will require a roll call vote and would begin with Councilor Holmes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
No.
Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
No.
Ms. DeSimone.
No.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
7 yeas, 3 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes. And we will move on to the public hearings.
Okay. First public hearing tonight is relative to the following loan order, and that said loan order be referred to Planning Board for study and recommendation. So the first one is ordered that $3,900,000 be appropriated for the permitting, bidding, construction oversight, and construction costs associated with the remodeling, construction, and making of extraordinary repairs to the roofs and interior of both the Brennan Middle School, located at 320 Rathman Wood Drive, Attleboro, Mass., and the Wamsutter Middle School, located at 300 Locust Street in Attleboro, Mass., collectively the project, including the payment of all costs incidental or related to, thereto, that to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow $3,900,000 under Section 7, subsection 1 of Chapter 44 of the General Laws, or any other enabling authority, that the mayor is authorized to take any other action necessary or convenient to carry out this project. Any premium received by the city upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this order, less any such premium applied to the payment of the costs of the issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this order in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the General Laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor?
Hi, Mr. President, members of the council, Jack Jacoby, 15 Prince Street, Chairman of the Municipal Building Commission. I'm here to speak in favor of this authorization. The roofs on these two schools were not constructed properly. It's something that has bothered me for 20 years. I'm here to ask you to give us the opportunity to correct that. The roofs are shingle roofs, but they have many, many peaks and valleys. I believe that the problem was that the flashing was never properly installed. I'm sorry to say that the clerk of the works, who we had faith and confidence in at that time, apparently let us down. But we have a different procedure now in place to handle these things. Because the projects are over $1.5 million, we now have an owner's project manager that will be in place, and then we will also have an architect to design. So the owner's project manager, we have 9 companies that have asked to serve in that role. We're going to shortlist them tomorrow night at the MBC meeting, and we will interview them in 2 weeks. And hopefully, if you pass this bond issue, we can sign a contract with the owner's project manager. Then the next step is to hire an architect. That we have scheduled for March, whatever the first Wednesday in March is. It's the 4th or so, to shortlist those and then interview them 2 weeks later. The concept is that the work would be designed, put out to bid, and it would start as soon as school ends in June and be finished for September. And we have a contingency of $357,600, which is because when you pull the roof off, you may have an idea of what's under, but we just aren't sure as to how much rot there may be underneath that needs to be replaced. So we've put in a healthy contingency to make sure we don't have to come back to you for more money. We're also carrying $200,000 to cover interior repairs in the buildings for whatever ceilings may need to be replaced or repaired. So that is what the project's about. That's our timeline. I'm happy to answer any questions, but this has been needed for a long time.
Thanks, Jack. Any questions for Mr. Jacoby at this time? Thank you. Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone to speak neither for nor against? Mr. Conti, do you see any reason to keep this public hearing open?
I do not. I wish to close it.
Thank you. That public hearing is closed. Thank you.
Okay, the next public hearing is relative to the following loan order, and that said loan order be referred to the planning board for study and recommendation. Order that $6,900,000 is appropriated for the design, permitting, bidding, construction oversight, and construction costs associated with the roof, HVAC, window, and exterior repairs to the Attleboro Public Library located at 74 North Main Street, Attleboro, Mass., collectively the project, including the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto. That to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow $6,900,000 under Section 7, subsection 1 of Chapter 44 of the General Laws, or any other enabling authority. That the mayor is authorized to take any other action necessary or convenient to carry out this project. Any premium received by the city upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this order, less any such premium applied to the payment of the costs of issuance of such bonds or notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this order in accordance with Chapter 44, Section 20 of the General Laws, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor?
Jack Jacoby, 15 Prince Street, Chairman of the Municipal Building Commission. This is also an urgently needed project that we have discussed before this council on several occasions. We are much more confident that we know what the story is with this one because of the extensive studying that we have done of the building. We feel confident that the $6.9 million will cover the repairs, both to the envelope and to the HVAC system. We already have an architect in place. We have an amendment ready to go to the architect's contract to design this work. We interviewed and made a recommendation to the mayor to hire an OPM a couple weeks ago. That contract is also ready to go. If this bond order is passed, we will then sign both of those contracts and get the design work done and start the work again this summer and get it done. I think we're looking more at about the Thanksgiving timeline to finish this, but it's urgent and critical, in my opinion, that we not go through another winter with the building envelope in the condition that it's in. I'm not sure whether the HVAC system will be in place for this summer and whether there'll still be temporary chillers. That's to be determined, but at least we know that the heat will work properly next winter, and the summer after that we'll certainly have the air conditioning in place. So I do know that there's 2 rows of people that I think are all here for the library who are also interested in this, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions from Mr. Jacoby at this time? Council Holmes?
Thank you. So we did do that, we paid for that study, and so it sounds like we are going to be doing this project in pieces then, it seems like?
No,
Okay,
all at once.
okay. But the study highlighted so many concerns in the building, and you're determining that the roof, the windows are and the HVAC system are the ones that need to be completed first?
Well,
I
there's-
guess, is that what you concluded from the study?
The study was to determine whether additional changes might be necessary to the building or desirable to the building. And I think what the study showed is that we have 37,000 square feet in that building, but the layout is probably not optimal. Those are decisions that the library board and the library director would be making as to what kind of interior reshuffling they want to do. I mean, just as an example, all the staff, or most of the staff's up on the 4th floor, and the consultant said they probably should be on the 1st floor. There could be some other changes that might be appropriate to that building. This is not directed to that. This is simply directed to fixing the walls, the windows, the roof, and the mechanical systems so that the building will function properly and be preserved. Whether something happens in the future, whether they ask for additional funds or something else to do with the building to take into account the recommendations that the consultant made about how we can have a more efficient library that meets the 21st century rather than the last century, that's another story for another day. So did I answer your question?
You did, thank you.
Any additional questions? Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak in favor? Is there anyone else here to speak in favor?
Show of hands, perhaps, for those who
I'll get to it. Thank you. Anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone neither for nor against? Anybody here neither for nor against? Now we can do a show of hands of individuals in the audience that are here in support of the funding for the library. George, come on. Thank you. Councilor Conti, do you see any reason to keep this
I do
public
not, I
hearing
wish to
open?
close it.
Great, thank you. That public hearing is also closed. And we can move on to the last public hearing
Yes,
this
the final
evening.
public hearing this evening is to address the submission of the city's capital improvement program for fiscal year 2021 through 2025.
Great. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone here to speak neither for nor against? Councilor Conti, do you see any reason to keep this public hearing open?
I do not, I wish to close it.
Thank you. That public hearing is also closed. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we can move on to the mayor's communication as soon as I find mine. He's still with us.
Let me know when you're ready, Mr. President Cooper.
I'm ready.
All right. February 4th, 2020, dear municipal councilors, the sale of 135 County Street is becoming imperative. This is taking the building back from the school department in March 2019. The city has spent about $70,000 on a vacant building. The city has tried to sell the building by issuing 3 RFPs. We have not gotten any offers. We have met with several developers who were initially interested. As it turns out, the facade restriction is the biggest obstacle to selling the building. We were told by one developer that the city could not even give the building away because the facade restriction will make it impossible to profit from the redevelopment of this building. Even with the lifting of the facade restriction, the city still may not be able to make any money on the sale of the building, as the developer is going to need to demolish the building, which cleanup costs are going to be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body consider lifting the facade restriction on 135 County Street. The city needs to stop spending money on a vacant building. We need to get this land into private ownership and get the building back on the tax rolls, bringing the city in revenue.
Capital Improvements to City Development Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Veterans Agent Ken Badager regarding the donation of $300 in Stop and Shop gift cards from a Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 115 donor. In accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body to accept these generous donations to the City of Attleboro. Copies in your packets.
City Property and Claims Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from City Clerk Stephen Withers regarding the need for funds to pay Water Department employees to work during the rabies clinic at the Water Department. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $408.82 from account Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account Clerk Overtime. Upon approval, the available balance in Reserve Fund for transfer, to include any pending requests, will be $250,380.59. Copies in your packets.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Fire Chief Scott T. LaChance regarding the need for funds to replace the cast iron sewer pipe at the Twin Village Fire Station. The funds requested included contingency for unanticipated costs related to this project. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $16,500 from account Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account Fire Renovations. Upon approval, the available balance in Reserve Fund for transfer, to include any pending requests, will be $233,880.59. Copies in your packets.
Public Safety Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Fire Chief Scott T. LaChance regarding the need for funds to pay 4 dispatchers the contractual annual sick leave incentive for fiscal year 19. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to transfer $1,650 from account Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account Fire prior year sick leave incentive. Upon approval, the available balance in Reserve Fund for transfer, to include any pending requests, will be $232,230.59. Copies in your packets.
Personnel and Human Services Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Fire Chief Scott T. LaChance regarding the need for funds to replenish funds to several accounts after internal transfers were made to repair the damaged PPE and to provide 2 sets of PPE for promoted personnel. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $17,300 from account Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to the following: $7,500 to account Fire firefighting supplies, $4,800 to account Fire Scott Air Pack, $2,500 to account Fire tires and batteries, and $2,500 to account Fire vehicles. Upon approval, the available balance in Reserve Fund for transfer, to include any pending requests, will be $214,930.59. Copies in your packets.
Public Safety Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Superintendent of Water, Courtney Winchell, regarding the need for funds to pay real estate taxes to Plainville. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body transfer $3,621.26 from account Water Enterprise Fund, Reserve Fund for transfer, to account Water Enterprise Fund, taxes to other communities. Upon approval, the available balance in Reserve Fund for transfer, to include any pending requests, will be $39,578.74. Copies in your packets.
Public Works Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from City Auditor Deborah Gould regarding the amount due from the city to the school department under a memorandum of understanding on the revenue sharing agreement for the Medicaid reimbursement program. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body appropriate $127,195.43 from account undesignated fund balance free cash general government to account school appropriation Medicaid to fund the municipal sharing agreement.
Budget and Appropriations Committee, please.
I am pleased to announce the receipt of the fiscal year 20 Municipal ADA Improvement Grant through the Executive Director of the Massachusetts Office on Disability, or MOD, on behalf of the Secretary of the Executive Office for Administration and Finance, or EOAF, of a maximum amount of $60,000. This grant will allow the city to hire a consultant to complete an ADA self-evaluation and transition plan. Monies from this grant will be expended no later than June 30th, 2020. In accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, I hereby request your honorable body approve expending of such funds in any future grant amendments. Copies in your packets.
Personnel and Human Services Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Legal Secretary Allison Wood regarding office furniture that the Elections Office would like to declare as surplus. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to declare the following as surplus and available for disposition. Copies in your packets.
City Property.
There is one office chair in good condition.
City Property and Claims Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Legal Secretary Allison Wood regarding road maintenance trucks/machines that the Department of Public Works would like to declare surplus for trade-in value. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to declare the following as surplus and available for disposition. Copies in your packets. It is a 1997 GMC Sierra with 104,202 miles in very poor condition. 1997 GMC Sierra, 100,433 miles in very poor condition. A 2004 Elgin Pelican Sweeper with 4,722 hours in very poor condition. The 1994 Ford Backhoe 655D with 8,907 hours in very poor condition.
City Property and Claims Committee, please.
I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the appointment of Stephanie Gray, 66 Orange Street, to fill an unexpired term on the Council on Human Rights. Term to expire February 2022. Copies in your packets.
Personnel and Human Services Committee, please.
I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the following appointments to fill unexpired terms on the Youth Commission. Copies in your package. They are Cole Bender, term to expire February 2022. Jao Pacheco, term to expire February 2022. Tyler Rocio, term expiration February 2022, and Emily Olson, term expiration February 2022.
Personnel and Human Services Committee, please.
In an attempt to protect the limited and valuable land that is left in the city of Attleboro, in order to contribute to protect the environment, in order to do our local share in fighting climate change and more globally, I am asking that the council consider extending the wetlands protection zone from 25 feet to 75 feet. This is not an unreasonable request. It is consistent with so many other communities who take a stand and try to protect the environment from overdevelopment. City Solicitor Cynthia Amara reviewed the changes to the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro and approved them to form. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body vote on the following amendments. Amend Section 18-1.8, Permits and Conditions of the Local Wetlands Protection Ordinance by deleting the phrase "land within 25 feet of resource areas" and inserting in place thereof the phrase "land within 75 feet of resource areas," and deleting the phrase "a 25-foot wide continuous and undisturbed wetlands protection zone," and inserting in place thereof the phrase "a 75-foot wide continuous and undisturbed wetlands protection zone."
Ordinances, Elections, and Legislative Matters Committee, please.
Additionally, some minor changes in the same section for housekeeping purposes are needed. Specifically, increasing the amount of time the Conservation Commission may grant an extension for a local wetlands permit, or LWP, in order to bring the LWP more in line with orders of conditions issued under the state's Wetlands Protection Acts, or WPA. Under WPA regulations, orders of conditions may have their effective dates extended for additional 3-year periods. Local wetlands permits are almost always accompanied with an order of condition. Providing the Conservation Commission with the discretion to extend local wetlands permits to 3 years would give applicants greater flexibility for long-term projects if they required an extension to a previously issued permit. City Solicitor Cynthia Mara reviewed the changes to the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro and approved them to form. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to vote on the following amendments. Amend the 4th paragraph under Section 18-1.8, Permits and Conditions of the Local Wetlands Protection Ordinance, by deleting the sentence. Any permit may be reviewed once for an additional 1-year period, providing that a request for the renewal is received in writing by the Commission prior to the expiration. And inserting in its place thereof, any permit may be extended once for up to 3 additional years, subject to the discretion and approval of the Conservation Commission, provided that a request for an extension is received in writing by the Commission prior to expiration.
Ordinances, Elections, and Legislative Matters
I
Committee,
respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the appointment of Barry Lacasse, 3 Zarek Drive, Attleboro, to the Attleboro Contributory Retirement Board, term to expire February 2023. Copies in your packets.
please. Personnel and Human Services Committee, please.
Don't waste any time.
I respectfully submit a communication from MIS Director Bill Lennox regarding the need for funds to purchase a new Cisco Catalyst 9400 switch. The Cisco Catalyst 9400 core switch connects all buildings in the city to our network, including all of the schools. This item was listed in both the current CIP and in prior year CIP booklet as priority 1. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body appropriate $90,000 from account undesignated fund balance, free cash general government, to account budget and administration, new computer equipment. Copies in your packets.
Capital Improvements and City Development Committee. please.
Sincerely, Paul Haru, Mayor.
And we'll move on to other communications.
Okay, we received a communication dated January 23rd, 2020 from Gerald Chase regarding a violation of the city charter's nonpartisan clause by the administration for Joe Caponigro's removal from the Traffic Study Commission.
Personnel Committee, please.
We received a communication dated January 24th, 2020 from Angela Orifice Burton regarding a complaint against Greenlight Auto of Attleboro.
License Committee.
We received a communication dated January 24th, 2020 from Ashley LaFleur Turbot regarding a complaint against Greenlight Auto of Attleboro.
License Committee, please.
We received two certificates of vote from the planning board dated January 28th, 2020 stating that the following loans are consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. $3,900,000 loan for roofs and interior school building work, and $6,900,000 for the library remodeling and repair.
Capital Improvement Committee, please.
And we also received a Class 2 application to amend an existing license for 97 Emery Street LLC, located at 97 Emery Street, with 7 customer spaces and 30 display spaces.
Thank you. License Committee, please. Council Dolan, would you like to have a public hearing on that matter on February 18th?
Yes, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Well, public hearing on February 18th.
And that is all, President Cooper.
Thank you. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to enter Committee of the Whole.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We are in Committee of the Whole. If there's anybody here that would like to address the council on any matter of city business, now is the time. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to arise.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Moving right along to committee reports, and for that, we will start with Councilor Blair.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reporting for Public Safety Emergency Management. I move to transfer $8,910 from account 112410000-578300, citywide reserve fund for transfer, to account 121010000-524011, police building maintenance, for funding to replace a bullet-resistant transition window.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any additional?
We talked about in committee, Mr. President, I think it was quite down to earth and explainable. Numerous councilors here have seen the window and seen how it's fractured, and it's a safety issue for those people behind the glass at this point.
Any other additional questions or comments? Seeing none, a roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Ms. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Ms. Jackson.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Vice President Jackson. Mr. Cobus.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no other business this evening, but we request a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Councilor DeSimone.
Good evening, President
Good
Cooper.
evening.
Reporting for our Transportation and Traffic Committee, I have two issues on the table. First, I move to strike the following from the docket of January 7, 2020. A communication from James Souther requesting assistance with parking issues on Falmouth Street.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any additional comments?
Very briefly, just to recap, Mr. Souther approached us with an issue on parking on Falmouth Street. Parking is prohibited on Falmouth Street. The issue was resolved with the addition of some new parking signs and the replacement of old signs, and I think it was a wonderful resolution by Mr. Tyler.
Great. Thank you. Any additional comments? Thank you. A voice vote is required. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you, President Cooper. From the docket of December 17th, 2020, I move to approve these deletions from the revised ordinance of the City of Attleboro. Delete only the following wording from Section 10-5.2A. Also see Section 10-5.15, seasonally prohibited on certain streets. Delete in its entirety Section 10-5.15, seasonally prohibited on certain streets. Parking upon the following streets or highway or parts thereof is hereby prohibited during the dates described herein. Beagle Club Road, both sides of the entire street, from June 1 through and including the day after Labor Day of each year.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any additional comments?
No, Mr. President.
Any questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, a roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Council Holmes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Conti?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
10 yeas and 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
I have no other business, Mr. President. I request a committee at the next appropriate date for me.
Great. Thank you. Council Conti.
Good evening, Mr. President. Reporting for Capital Improvements and City Development Committee, I have one motion for the council this evening. From the docket of January 21st, 2020, I move to transfer $77,507.79 from account 1124100-578-300 Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account 1124100-578-020 Citywide previous year's bills, costs which were incurred by the EPA on the SPAC landfill project between May 1st, 2018 and April 30th, 2019.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any additional comments, Council Conti?
Yes, Mr. President. The city is a responsible party for the SPAC landfill. And as such, we will be obligated ad infinitum until that land is declared safe by the EPA upon their regulations, which are changing. So we are responsible to reimburse the EPA for expenses that they incur in the monitoring and testing. And we really can't refuse this, so I would encourage my councilors to support it. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Seeing none, a roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Councilor Blair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
That completes the business that the Capital Improvements and City Development Committee has to bring before the council this evening. We have completed our capital improvement department heads survey. We've completed a public hearing on the capital improvement plan. The committee is meeting Monday night in the annex room to draft our letter for the council to approve to send to the mayor. And we're moving at a very rapid pace ahead of the budget. So I would like to call for a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Waterman.
Yes, thank you. Reporting from the Personnel and Human Services Committee from the docket of January 7th, 2020. I move to add the position of Administrative Assistant to the Mayor, placing the position at grade 7 on reclassification plan and personnel rules and regulations. A review by personnel of the Executive Secretary to the Mayor position has found the obligations and functions have changed significantly over the past several years.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any additional comments, Councilor Waterman?
I believe that has been discussed as much as we can right now.
Great. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, a roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Councilor Holmes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Motion passes.
That concludes the business of the Human Services Personnel Committee. We'll meet again at the next appropriate time.
Great. Thank you. Vice President Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reporting for Public Works Committee from the docket of February 4th, 2020. I move to transfer $120 from the Wastewater Enterprise Fund account to the Supplies Water and Wastewater account. Wastewater Enterprise Fund / Supplies Water and Wastewater account to account Wastewater Enterprise Fund previous year's bills to pay a fiscal year 19 invoice from FW Webb.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any additional comments?
Thank you. Nope. None.
Any additional questions from the council? Seeing none, a roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you. I have no further business this evening for the Public Works Committee, but I would like to call for a committee meeting at the appropriate time next week.
Great, thank you. Council Cobus.
Reporting for Budget and Appropriations Committee from the docket of February 4th, 2020. I move to transfer $125 from account 11241000578300 citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 11611000573010 clerk dues to pay the clerk's annual dues to the Massachusetts City Clerks Association.
Second.
Thank you, motion's in order. Any additional questions or comments?
This is straightforward, $125 for dues to the Massachusetts City Clerks Association. My view is they should pay us $125 for the privilege of having our city clerk on their committee, but
Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, a roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Council Holmes.
Ms. Holmes,
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Cobus? Yes. Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
From the docket of February 4th, 2020, I move to authorize the school department to pay previous year school bills totaling $14.55 as they were not received in time to be processed in the normal fiscal year 2019 business cycle.
Second.
Thank you, motion's in order. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, a roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Cobus. Yes. Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
From the docket of February 4th, 2020, I move to transfer $25,700 from account 114110005955010 assessors revaluations to account 11411000541010 assessor software, and transfer $500 from account 11411000595010 assessor revaluation to account 11411000542050 assessor supplies inspections to pay for a computer upgrade and a laser distance meter for field inspection.
Second.
Thank you, motion's in order. Any questions or comments?
And I think Councilor Conti did a great job describing this last week, and I'll defer to him if he wants to.
The city of Attleboro is upgrading to the Vision camera system, computer-aided mass assessing. And it's because the company is discontinuing the software that they're currently using. So they're upgrading to Vision 8.1.3, which I use. And all I can say is, Pars Dominitus Vobiscum and Sanctum, new software is always a pain. That concludes my comments.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? Roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Council Holmes.
Ms. Holmes.
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds.
Yes.
Ms. Dolan.
Yes.
Cobus. Yes. Vice President Jackson.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman.
Yes.
Conti.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
President Cooper.
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
From the docket of February 4th, 2020, I move to authorize the Attleboro School Department to pay previous year's bills totaling $35,302.04.
Second.
Thank you. Any additional comments?
And I'll just take a quick minute to read from a memo from Mr. Furtado. He mentions, this request totals $35,302.04. Attached are invoices along with a detailed spreadsheet. I want to point out that all but $75 of this total is due to a negative outcome on a LEA dispute concerning the residents and therefore fiscal responsibility for a special education student. The decision made us liable for his fiscal year 18 tuition. So, and if you remember in the communication, there was a breakdown of what all of this was, and all but $75 of it was for the special education payment.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, a roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
That concludes the business for the Budget and Appropriations Committee. I call for committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Great, thank you.
Reporting for Zoning and Land Use Committee. I move to strike the following motion from the docket of October 1st, 2019. 3 communications from Nova Farms regarding the recent license suspension order from the Cannabis Control Commission, including actions taken by the company.
Second.
Thank you, motion is in order. Any additional comments?
We talked about this, there was just an article in the paper. I don't think this needs to be on the docket anymore.
Agreed. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, a roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Council Holmes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Conti?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
That concludes the business for the Zoning and Land Use Committee, and I call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Great. Council Dolan.
Reporting for License Committee, I have one item from the docket of February 4th, 2020. I move to approve the hawkers and peddlers license application from Kenneth Blaze of Paddock Lane, Attleboro, for pizza sales.
Second.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments?
I just have one comment. If you haven't had their mozzarella with balsamic drizzle across that thin crust pizza, it is to die for. It's so good. Highly recommend it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, a roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Council Blair.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Ms. DeSimone?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Vice President Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Cobus?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you, motion passes.
That's all the business I have for License Committee, and I'd like to call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Great, thank you. Council Reynolds.
Thank you, President Cooper. Reporting for City Property and Claims Committee from the docket of February 4th, 2020. Excuse me. I entertain a motion to accept the generous donation of materials and labor for the COA kitchen with an approximate value of $2,500 from Lowe's of Plainville in accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro.
Second.
Great, thank you. Motion's in order. Any
Yep,
additional?
I think it's pretty self-explanatory.
Great. Any other comments from the council? Seeing none, a voice vote is required. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, motion passes.
From the docket of February 4th, 2020, I entertain a motion to accept the donation of a slightly used Kindle Fire with a value of $40 to Classroom 103 at the Thatcher Elementary School from Terry Allen.
Second.
Thank you, motion's in order. Any additional comments or questions?
Again, just a thank you to all those people that do donations, whether it's a $40 used Kindle or the $2,500 from Lowe's. We get so many donations from businesses and people in the city. I think that it's just really great. They care enough.
Great, thank you for those comments. Any additional comments? Seeing none, a voice vote is required. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, motion passes.
There is no further business for City Property and Claims Committee, but I would like to call a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Great. Council Holmes.
Thank you. There's no business this evening for Ordinance, Election, and Legislative Matters Committee, but I will call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. There is no old business. There are 2 items of new business, and for that I'll recognize Council Jackson, but first, will you sign that for me? I didn't get that
Oh, certainly.
from you before. Sorry about that.
Yes. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice President Jackson.
Thank you so kindly. So I'd like to refer to the appropriate committee for study and recommendation that a special commission to be formed to review the city charter.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. Any additional comments?
I'm gonna wait for the second one, because they kind of go together.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Any additional comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Steve, I don't need a roll call vote for that, right? No, just to assign it to committee. Refer that to Ordinances, Elections, and Legislative Matters Committee.
Thank you. Refer to the appropriate committee for study and recommendation, including the solicitor's opinion, to adopt Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 61.
Second.
Thank you. Council Reynolds.
Thank you. So, we were all here at the personnel special meeting that the mayor had held here along with Mr. Caponegro. And we had several people speak, and one of them happened to be John Davis, who had served on a previous city charter review commission. So I think it's time, he made the suggestion, and I think it's a good idea that we review that. And also, I'd like to adopt this Mass General Law because I think it pertains to what has happened to this gentleman. And I do not want to ever sit through this or have any other counselors sit through it or have any volunteer on a commission or a board have to go through what Mr. Caponegro went through here in our chamber. So I'd like to see this review for the city charter. I'd like to see the adoption both along so that along with this administration cannot do that again, and any future administration cannot do that to anyone else who is volunteering for any board or commission.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments? Council Cobus?
Thank you so much for introducing this. I applaud you for introducing this. It's awesome. The one thing I'd like to, hopefully we can make a friendly amendment, and I believe it's chapter 41 instead of 44. But we could look that up
Okay,
later, but.
great, thank you.
But in that's chapter 41, section 61 is the one that says, according to Mass General Law, that it requires a majority of the council to fire somebody before their term's over.
Yep. Okay, and if, I'm gonna just follow up with one
Sure.
other thing. And my one request is that the first person that we appoint to this city charter review board is Mr. Caponegro.
Oh, I'm all for that.
Thank you, that's it.
Any additional questions or comments?
I just have a question. Is there any particular size of the commission?
No, that would be determined by the ordinance committee.
Okay. Just curious.
Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, and that matter will also be referred to Ordinances, Elections, and Legislative Matters Committee. There is no other business at this time. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. We are adjourned at 7:50. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned 7:52.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great.